My husband whispered, "I love you," to another woman right in front of me at the biggest event of the year with cameras everywhere. He didn't see me standing there, but then they announced my name and I watched his face drain of color as I stepped forward with the President of the United States. Listen, what I'm about to tell you sounds like a movie, but this is my real life. Hit that subscribe button right now because this story is twists you won't see coming. I promise you by the end of this you'll understand why staying silent was the most powerful move I ever made. Now let me tell you how I went from invisible wife to untouchable. 15 years. That's how long I'd been married to Raymond when everything fell apart. Or maybe I should say that's how long it took for me to realize I'd been living with a stranger. We met in college. Two ambitious kids with big dreams. He wanted to conquer Wall Street. I wanted to change the world through law. Somehow, we thought we could do both together. For a while, it worked. We built a life that looked perfect from the outside. Beautiful home, successful careers, the kind of couple people pointed to and said, that's what marriage should look like. But somewhere between year 12 and year 15, Raymond stopped looking at me. I don't mean he literally stopped looking. I mean that thing where someone's eyes pass over you like you're furniture, like you're just part of the background of their real life. The man who used to wake up for me after late court sessions started going to bed early. The man who used to ask about my cases stopped asking about my day entirely. We became roommates who occasionally attended the same events, and I told myself it was normal. Marriage evolves, right? People get comfortable. I was busy with my cases, working 80-hour weeks, building my reputation as the lawyer who took on impossible civil rights cases and won. I convinced myself I was too tired to worry about us. Then came that Tuesday morning, regular Tuesday, coffee brewing, morning news playing in the background. Raymond was scrolling on his iPad at the kitchen table like always. His phone buzzed and I watched him reach for it, but he grabbed his iPad instead. That's when I saw it. A message notification on the iPad screen synced to his phone. Last night was amazing. Can't wait for the gala. I'll wear that red dress you love. Love you. From someone named Vanessa. I didn't gasp. Didn't throw the coffee pot. Didn't scream. I just stood there, spatula in hand, eggs getting cold in the pan, and felt something inside me go completely quiet. You know that moment when you realized the earthquake already happened, and you just didn't feel it until now? That's what it was like. All those late nights, all those business trips, all those times he said he was too tired to talk. It all clicked into place with such brutal clarity that I almost laughed. Raymond looked up, smiled that distant smile he perfected, kissed my cheek like a reflex, and said he had an early meeting. He was gone in 5 minutes. I stood in that kitchen for 20 more, just breathing. Then I did something I'd never done before. I took a screenshot of that message on my phone. I called my office and told them I'd be late. And I called a private investigator my colleague had used during a custody case. By noon, I'd paid $5,000 in cash for him to follow my husband. I told myself I needed to know the truth before I decided anything. But really, I think I was buying myself time to feel something other than numb. The photos came back 3 days later. Raymond and Vanessa, that was her name. Vanessa Torres, 27 years old, marketing director at his firm. 8 months. That's how long they'd been seeing each other. Hotels I recognized because we'd stayed there for our anniversary once. Restaurants where he'd told me he had client dinners, weekend trips to Boston that were supposed to be about closing deals. The investigator had time-stamped everything. I looked through every single photo in my office with the door locked, and I still didn't cry. I just felt this cold, clear rage settling into my bones. Not the hot kind that makes you throw things, the cold kind that makes you think. Here's what Raymond didn't know. While he was busy playing house with Vanessa, 3 weeks before I found that text message, I'd been invited to a private dinner by Senator Gerald Hampton. My work on wrongful conviction cases had caught his attention. Over the past 2 years, I'd successfully overturned 6 convictions, freeing 6 innocent people who'd spent a combined 70 years in prison. The senator wanted to discuss criminal justice reform. We met at a quiet restaurant in Georgetown, and we talked for 3 hours. At the end of that dinner, he said something that changed everything. "The president has been following your work, Mrs. Mitchell. Your name keeps coming up in the right rooms. Would you be open to a conversation about consulting on some policy initiatives?" I thought he was being polite. You know how politicians are. They say things. But 2 days later, my office received a call from the White House. Not the assistant, not a secretary. The chief of staff himself. They wanted me to consult on the administration's criminal justice reform package. Paid position, high clearance, direct access to policy discussions. I'd be working with the president's team on legislation that could change millions of lives. Me, the girl from Atlanta who grew up watching her uncle get railroaded by a system that didn't care about the truth. They wanted me. I said yes. Obviously, I said yes. And for the next 6 weeks, while Raymond was sneaking around with Vanessa, I was in conference calls with senators, attending strategy sessions at the White House, and building relationships with the most powerful people in the country. I didn't tell Raymond any of it. At first, I thought I would. I'd come home excited, ready to share this incredible opportunity, and he'd be on his phone, barely grunting a response. So, I stopped trying. I'd attend morning meetings at the Capitol, come home, and he'd ask where I'd been, like he was reading from a script. "Oh, just work stuff," I'd say, and he'd nod, already looking back at his screen. He had no idea his wife was becoming someone he could never reach again. The Presidential Unity Gala was announced 6 weeks before the event. It's this massive annual fundraiser, $10,000 a plate, attended by everyone who matters in politics, business, and entertainment. Raymond's investment firm bought a corporate table. I remember the night he told me about it. We were having one of our silent dinners, the kind where we both scrolled our phones between bites. He didn't even look up when he said, "I'm going to that presidential gala next month, taking the senior team. You'd probably be bored. It's all political talk." I put down my fork and looked at him. Really? Looked at him, waiting to see if he'd meet my eyes. He didn't. "Sure," I said. "You're probably right. I'll sit this one out." He nodded, relieved. And that's when I knew for sure. He was taking her. He was taking Vanessa to the most high-profile event of the year. And he thought I was too oblivious to figure it out. What Raymond didn't know was that I'd been helping plan elements of that gala for 3 weeks. The Criminal Justice Initiative being announced that night, I'd drafted parts of it. And 4 days after Raymond told me I'd be bored, I received a call from the White House Chief of Staff. "Mrs. Mitchell, the President has specifically requested that you join his table at the Unity Gala. We'll need you to keep this confidential until the event for security protocol, but we wanted to extend the invitation personally." I accepted. I didn't tell a soul. Not my sister, not my best friend, nobody. I just marked my calendar and kept going to work like everything was normal. The next few weeks were almost funny in a twisted way. Raymond was so excited about this gala. He got fitted for a custom tuxedo, bought a new Rolex, started working out extra hard at the gym. I watched him prepare for his big night with his mistress like I was watching a stranger. One afternoon, I came home early and heard him on the phone in the garage. I stood in the hallway and I listened. "Baby, tonight everyone will see us together," he said, his voice soft in that way it used to be with me. "I'm done hiding. Done pretending. After this event, I'm telling her I promise." My hand was on the do. I could have walked in right then. Could have confronted him, screamed, cried, thrown his clothes on the lawn like they do in movies, but I didn't because I realized something standing there. Confronting him would give him a chance to manipulate the narrative, to apologize, to make promises he wouldn't keep. And I didn't want his apologies anymore. I wanted him to feel what I'd felt. That moment of the ground disappearing beneath your feet. So, I got ready for the gala like I was preparing for war. I'd ordered a custom gown weeks earlier. Midnight blue silk that fit like it was painted on. Off the shoulder, elegant, powerful, the kind of dress that makes people stop talking when you walk in. I had my hair done by the same stylist who does the First Lady's hair. She came to my house, sent by the White House, my diamond earrings, the ones my grandmother left me, the ones I wore when I argued my first Supreme Court case. Secret Service did an advanced sweep of my house 3 days before the event. Raymond was at a golf tournament. He had no idea government agents were walking through our home, checking exits, planning security routes. My sister came over the morning of the gala while Raymond was at the office. She helped me get ready and didn't ask questions when the town car with government plates pulled up. She just hugged me tight and whispered, "Go show him who you are." Raymond left for the gala at 6. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't ask if I needed anything. Just walked out adjusting his bow tie. I watched him drive away and I finished my makeup in the silence he left behind. At 7:30, my car arrived. I looked at myself one last time in the mirror. The woman looking back at me wasn't the wife who'd made breakfast and ignored signs. She was the lawyer who'd freed innocent people, the consultant who'd earned the president's respect, the woman who'd rebuilt herself while her husband was busy destroying them. I grabbed my clutch and walked out. The ballroom looked like something from a movie. Crystal chandeliers the size of cars. Marble floors polished so bright you could see your reflection. Ice sculptures and flower arrangements that probably cost more than most people's cars. Everyone who was anyone was there. Senators, CEO, movie stars. And right in the middle of it all, I saw Raymond. He was walking in with Vanessa on his arm. And my God, she looked exactly like what she was. Young, trying too hard. Her dress was too tight, too red, too everything. She was clinging to him like a life raft, taking selfies, laughing too loud. And Raymond was eating it up, strutting through that ballroom like he owned it, introducing her to colleagues as his brilliant marketing director. I watched it all on a security monitor from a private room near the entrance. A Secret Service agent stood next to me and asked if I was ready. I took a deep breath. "Yes," I said. "I'm ready." The lights dimmed. The music stopped. Everyone in that ballroom froze. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer's voice boomed through the speakers. "The President of the United States and the First Lady." The room erupted in applause. Everyone stood. Cameras flashed like lightning. I watched Raymond on the monitor clapping with everyone else. Vanessa hanging on his arm. Both of them trying to get a glimpse of the presidential entrance. The president walked in with the First Lady, waving to the crowd, and they started toward the center table. Then the announcer continued, "Joining the president this evening, esteemed civil rights attorney and presidential legal consultant, Mrs. Diane Mitchell." That's when I stepped into the light. The ballroom doors opened and I walked in on Senator Hampton's arm, right behind the presidential party. I felt every eye in that room turn to me. The applause continued, but I could hear the whispers cutting through it like knives. Confused whispers, shocked whispers. I kept my head high, my smile calm, and I walked down that center aisle like I owned every inch of it. And then I saw Raymond's face. I'll never forget it as long as I live. His champagne glass literally slipped from his hand and shattered on the marble floor. All the color drained from his face. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. Vanessa looked confused, tugging on his arm. "Who is that?" I saw her mouth the words. "She's gorgeous." And then Raymond found his voice, barely a whisper. "That's my wife." The room put it together in about 3 seconds. Raymond Mitchell's wife just walked in with the president. Raymond Mitchell is here with another woman. Raymond Mitchell is an idiot. I could feel the social calculations happening in real time. People stepping away from Raymond's table, turning their backs, suddenly remembering they needed to be somewhere else. Vanessa's face went from confused to horrified as she realized she was the other woman at the most photographed event of the year. She tried to hide behind Raymond, but there was nowhere to hide. Every camera in the room had already captured them together, and now every camera was capturing me with the president. The president greeted me warmly. A kiss on the cheek like we were old friends. The First Lady embraced me and complimented my dress. We walked to the center table together, the presidential table, right in the middle of the ballroom where everyone could see. I could feel Raymond's eyes on me from across the room. Could feel his panic, his confusion, his absolute terror. Every major player in that room came to our table. A Supreme Court justice asked for my card. Fortune 500 CEO wanted introductions. The Secretary of State discussed an upcoming case. And through it all, cameras flashed. Tomorrow's newspapers, tonight's social media, all of it capturing the same story. The president's legal consultant, the woman of the hour, while her husband stood in the shadows with his mistake. I saw Raymond try to approach once. He got about halfway across the room before a Secret Service agent simply stepped into his path, didn't say a word, just looked at him. Raymond stopped like he'd hit a wall. Senator Hampton noticed and walked over to him. "Raymond," he said loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "Didn't expect to see you here. How's everything?" The way he said everything was surgical. Raymond stammered something about not knowing I'd be here. About some misunderstanding. The senator just smiled that political smile and walked away. I watched Raymond's business partner pull him aside. Both of them having an urgent whispered conversation that ended with Raymond looking like he might be sick. Vanessa was already gone. I saw her slip out a side exit, mascara running about 20 minutes into the event. During dinner, the president asked me to say a few words about the Criminal Justice Initiative. I stood up in that ballroom full of power and influence. And I spoke about the work that mattered to me, about the people I'd freed from wrongful convictions, about the changes we needed to make to a broken system, about justice and dignity and second chances. The room gave me a standing ovation. The president mentioned my upcoming appointment to a federal position pending Senate confirmation. More applause, more photos, and Raymond had to watch it all from his empty table alone because even Vanessa had abandoned him. His colleagues had scattered. His moment of triumph with his mistress had turned into public humiliation, and there was nothing he could do but sit there and take it. I got home around 2 in the morning. Government car dropped me off. I was still in my gown, sitting on the couch with a glass of wine. When Raymond finally stumbled in, his tie was loose, his face was destroyed. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in one night. "Diane," he said, his voice cracking. "I can explain." I took a sip of wine and looked at him calmly. "Explain what, Raymond?" "That you brought your mistress to a gala. That you've been cheating on me for 8 months. That you thought I was too stupid, too busy, too invisible to notice." He collapsed into a chair. "When did you know? How long have you known?" I sat down my glass long enough to file for divorce. "The papers were served to your office yesterday at 4:00 p.m. You were too busy getting ready for your big night to notice." The look on his face would have been satisfying if I wasn't so tired. "You can't," he whispered. "My career, my reputation. We can fix this counseling. I'll end things with her. Please, Diane." I stood up and I looked at the man I'd spent 15 years of my life with. The man who'd stopped seeing me. The man who'd made me feel invisible while I was becoming someone extraordinary. "You ended things with me the moment you stopped seeing me. Raymond, I just made it official. You have until Monday to get your things and leave. The house is in my name. The car you drove tonight? Mine. The life you thought you were living? Also mine. And everything you assumed you had? You're about to learn what you actually earned." He argued. He begged. He tried to spin it. But I was done listening. I walked into the bedroom, closed the door, and slept better than I had in years. 6 months later, I was sworn in as a federal circuit court judge. 3 weeks after that gala, Raymond's firm let him go. The scandal was too loud. His reputation couldn't survive it. Vanessa blocked him everywhere and got engaged to someone else within 4 months. Our divorce was finalized in record time. He didn't contest it. Couldn't afford to, not with the legal team I had. Soon after, I found myself on the cover of a major magazine, Justice Prevails, Judge Diane Mitchell's remarkable journey. My life didn't just move forward, it flourished. For the first time, I was free to be exactly who I was meant to be. No one shrinking me. No one dimming my light because my ambition made them uncomfortable. And here's the wildest part. He truly believed I needed him. That without him, I was nothing. While he was sneaking around and trying to make me feel small, I was becoming someone else entirely. The woman who drinks tea with the president. The woman other judges call for advice. The woman who rebuilt herself while he was busy tearing everything down. If this gave you chills, hit that like button. Tell me, would you have stayed quiet like I did, or confronted him the moment you knew? Subscribe and turn on notifications. I've got more stories about women who refuse to stay down. Share this with someone who needs a reminder of their worth. And remember, the best revenge isn't drama. It's success so undeniable they can't look away. Your value doesn't shrink just because someone failed to see it. Now go be great.